The Epstein saga took an odd turn with the closed deposition of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton by House oversight staff. And we hear that the hunted became the hunter. Chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, had this to say.
On the Clinton Global Initiative, was that your main focus today with Secretary Clinton, and did you feel like you got the answers you were looking for?
Well, I don't want to disclose too much of what was said, but most of the questions that we asked about the Clinton Global Initiative, which were very specific questions, some of them were backed by emails and other documents that have been released by the Department of Justice. She said that she was a senator, and you would have to ask her husband that tomorrow. So we have a lot of questions for her husband tomorrow, and I'm confident that deposition will last even longer than this one.
Because if there's one thing we need to get to the bottom of with Jeffrey Epstein and all these young women and all these shady deals, it's the Clinton Global Initiative. Sounds like Bill Clinton may face a lot more questions tomorrow than his wife, but he will likely not take the posture that his wife did, seeming to go, from what we hear, right at the questioning as a farce to distract from the allegations against President Trump and others. The secretary said in her released opening statement, "You have made little effort to call the people who show up most prominently in the Epstein files." And that's true. She makes a good point. Why did they bring in Hillary? You know why. Republicans want to control the narrative and weaponize this whole process for their advantage. There are a lot of people named who were mentioned a lot more than her in a lot more troubling ways, okay? And as to one of those much-mentioned men, that includes her husband. The secretary took that head on.
I think it is fair to say that the vast majority of people who had contact with him before his criminal pleas in 2008 were like most people. They did not know what he was doing. And I think that that is exactly what my husband will testify to tomorrow.
Got to be careful, because then you bracket the former president into a situation where anything that comes out after 2008 up until 2019 could be problematic. So, will Bill Clinton connect any dots about who was in the know about Epstein and his habits, about the current president's relations or reputation? Let's be clear. Again, it's no mystery why the MAGA-led committee targeted the Clintons. President Trump has used them as a constant source of deflection. But if they have to answer questions, Democrats want to know why Trump doesn't have to answer questions, especially after we learned of thousands of mentions of him in the files and DOJ apparently removing allegations to allegedly protect him.
This committee has now set a new precedent about talking to presidents and former presidents. And we're demanding immediately that we ask President Trump to testify in front of our committee and be deposed in front of oversight Republicans and Democrats. And that should happen immediately. He is the person that appears almost more than anyone else in the committee, and it needs to happen right now.
Well, the right now part's never going to happen, right? But the AG right now could explain why they played with the allegations against President Trump. How is it okay within the confines of the release law that the president signed? Another irony. And why did they hold back the majority of information they have? Why did they redact a record amount of information? And again, MAGA made the mythology of the Epstein files, of what was in there, and the murder, and the client list. And then they failed to do anything about it, despite Bongino and Patel being two of the main hype men running the FBI, only to say there was nothing there, and then saying nothing about everything we're now learning about. The Democrats jumped on this non-delivery as a cover-up and saw an opportunity for advantage. And they were right. So now they want to go all in, starting with way more transparency.
Donald Trump needs to direct Attorney General Bondi to release all the files, to unredact the illegal redactions, and he needs to unequivocally rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, who is a monster convicted of child sex trafficking. Why has he not ruled out pardoning her?
The full transcript, unedited, of the Secretary's questions and the answers need to be released by the majority in the next 24 hours.
Release it all, release it all, release it all. But I will ask you this. Why wouldn't Ghislaine Maxwell give up names of people who knew or participated in what we're now also interested in? Why? It's the only way she's going to get out of prison. Oh, no, they gave her a deal. She's still in prison. Now, is this situation opportunistic for the Democrats? Of course it is. It's always been opportunistic. I don't believe it's ever really been about the survivors in terms of the overall politics, not for MAGA either. And then today we had a little bit of drama, which seems to matter more to everybody in the media than what was said at the deposition. At one point during Hillary's deposition, there was a pause because a photo of the closed-door proceeding was leaked by Member of Congress Lauren Boebert. The committee's rules strictly prohibit outside press or photographers to take photos. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.